I've travelled 13 different countries and introduced myself and my topic to well over 200 people. And most people will forget that my name is Jade King and that I'm a 2022 Nuffield Scholar. But what they will remember is that I'm that lady that told them about this crazy, amazing fruit that was Australian native, endemic to Australia, that I describe as citrus caviar. And I think you'd agree with that picture. Named fingerlimes, or Citrus australasica. Now, looking at that picture, I think you would agree how amazing they are. And I'd like to say that there are some fingerlimes on your table, but it comes with a bit of a warning, okay? It's a bit of a hiccup that happened with the fingerlimes coming into South Australia. Obviously, there are biosecurity measures that I had to overcome, which meant I had to freeze the fruit. They are now defrosted on the table. And when they defrosted in my room in the upstairs and I opened it, it looked like there'd been a bit of a murder happening. So that could happen across all your tables right now. So be warned. But so just you can do that and you can add it to your sparkling water, and you potentially, by the time I end my talk, you will see those pearls dancing up and down with the bubbles, okay? So they're quite mesmerising, and now that I've got your attention, or should I say the fingerlimes have your attention, I want you to think about this, that the biggest grower in the world for our Australian native fingerlime is in fact Guatemala. Also, while I'm at it, the only gene bank existing in the world for fingerlimes is in California. Now, to me, this is quite profound and disturbing that we as incredible Australian producers are not answering this. Why is it that the rest of the world can see their value before we do? And this is not just for fingerlimes. So, I came up with the question, the commercial production of Australian native fingerlime, Citrus australasica, as an emerging industry in need of provenance, research and representation was my research topic. So I started to travel the world to answer this question. First, I went to Italy, France, the land of champagne and an emerging citrus fingerlime industry. I then went to Italy, the place of Parma ham, and the first place I exported fingerlimes to. Then down to Spain, which is the largest exporter of fresh citrus in the world. Then over to California, where, yes, they have the largest fingerlime producers in the United States, as well as the gene bank that I spoke of. I then went to Guatemala, the largest producer of fingerlimes in the world. And just to give you a bit of scale as to how big that is, when you're flown in by helicopter, by Prime Tropics, to show you their 20,000 trees of fingerlimes, it's certainly put it all into reality, how large a scale this is. Now, Prime Tropics doesn't just grow fingerlimes, that was actually part of their hobby. They also are the largest rambutan growers in the world and one of 2 latex rubber producers in the world. Sort of made my farm look a little small. I started out with 350 trees of fingerlimes and no idea on what I was doing or how to do it, and very much no publications out there to give me some sort of guidance. Over 5 years, I grew to 2,000 trees and still no guidance or pretty much no idea. But 2,000 trees is considered quite a large farm for fingerlimes. So what I did was then thought, well, what's the rest of the world doing with regards to research for fingerlimes? Now, as I mentioned, Lakeside University in California has the gene bank, but they're also releasing 17 brand new cultivars of fingerlimes to their growers. Florida leads the research in fingerlimes, in particular disease resistance for citrus greening disease and other diseases. Croatia just this year has released another cultivar of fingerlimes and got plant breeders' rights for a yellow fingerlime. Now, Australia currently has only one PBR, or plant breeders' rights, on fingerlimes, and that's the Rainforest Pearl, not one that's actually hugely commercial variety. So we also have other research happening across Australia. Fruit integrity over storage conditions. I think we can all attest that freezing does not work so well for fingerlimes, and their structural integrity, it should burst in your mouth. And we also have spectral analysis to inform the authenticity of that fingerlime. And we have just secured land this year for a gene bank for fingerlimes. But my question is, how can we lead the world in research and understanding of our native fruit when we have no industry body to represent it? So representation became a big part of my research as well. Internationally, fingerlimes were sat under citrus peak bodies and not well represented in that, to the point in California I was highly offended when they put fingerlimes, beautiful fingerlimes, below kumquats. That's just sad. But in Australia, fingerlimes were represented under Citrus Australia and Australian Native Foods and Botanicals, and also Hort Innovations Australia. But none of this was centralised. So it became my mission to address one of my sponsors, AgriFutures objectives, the need to establish a peak body specifically for fingerlimes. And this was then Australian Native Fingerlime Alliance was born. And I was lucky enough to, on my CSC scholarship, to meet Jo Kelly on my first trip to England and actually get her assistance in setting up this industry body. And you'll hear from her next. So now we have an industry body. But one of those things, we're losing our industry. We are losing provenance of what we have. And the provenance basically means the origin or earliest known history of something. And this is not a new concept that we should recognise provenance. In the EU, they have a protected designation of origin and geographical indication. So when I spoke of Parma ham and champagne, that's what I was getting at, is we need to look at this provenance. There's actually over 650 different foods that have a PDO, or protected designation of origin, on it in the EU. So Australia stands to lose this intrinsic connection to our foods if we don't do something. So I have some recommendations. Australia needs to take leadership of their native food industry. And I'm not just talking fingerlimes, I'm talking about every native food. And establish industry bodies to represent our native foods specifically, not just under one branch, because it gets lost in that. Use AMFA as a blueprint to unite the producers and research across the countries, and embrace provenance of our endemic foods. And finally, just as a little bit of a Nuffield reflection moment, and I think it's actually been mentioned earlier on today, basically, I remember the very moment that I received my Nuffield Scholarship, when I was told, and I think you can all, anyone that has received that, will remember that very moment and where you were and how you felt, daunted or excited. And then we started getting the presentations. Now, one of those presentations was on the imposter syndrome. Oh, how I related. I wondered why I was in amongst a room full of incredible minds, and I still do. However, over the last 3 years of research, I can now feel confident that I am one of the most informed fingerlime producers in Australia, if not the world. So thank you so much to AgriFutures for this incredible opportunity and sponsoring my research. And thank you, Nuffield, for an incredible time. And I should mention my family and my new husband. So thank you.